Real quick, before we start this episode, today is your last chance to join us for our summer special with discounted coaching and guaranteed results. There's no better time to get started than now to feel your best leading up to summer, through summer, and beyond summer. So we're gonna teach you incredible habits, we're gonna help you one-on-one, and we guarantee results, but we only do have a few limited spots as demand has been quite high with summer coming up. So all you have to do is message us with the keyword summer special to our Instagram at ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT. Can't wait to hear from you. Now into the episode.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house.
And we have an amazing episode planned for you today with some killer questions, some amazing thoughts, and just overall some amazingness towards being fitter, healthier, and happier. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and let's jump into our first question of the day. And that is, hey guys, love the podcast, and I'm really proud to announce I'm about 90% done with my goal. I've lost 40 pounds since last year, and I'm really happy with it. In this time, I've gained a lot of muscle and lost a lot of fat. However, I'm a little bit stuck on what I need to do now. I feel that there's about 10% more progress I need to make to really have an elite transformation, especially getting rid of my stubborn body fat and adding a bit more muscle, but nothing I do seems to be working. What advice do you have for me here?
This is a great question and something we've actually experienced very often. It's very common for a lot of people to actually come to us, and we always call it good to great transformation. So these are people who have lost weight, they've built great habits, and they're just kind of stuck because you've worked so hard and you're just like, what do I do next? And it can be challenging, right? Like some people would be like, well, you should be happy. You've already got 90% of the way. But I know so many people who listen to this podcast who are driven, who want more, who want better. And if you've already come this far, like why not just keep pushing and get to that next level? So without the statistics, the numbers, the calories, how long you've been dieting, it's hard to give the exact specifics, but I'm gonna try to give some more broad answers and Josh will jump in as well. But the first thing to consider is that what you've always done isn't what's gonna help you progress, right? So like a lot of times people will be like, well, if I just keep up this deficit and I keep up strength training and keep the same cardio and everything the same, I've already lost 40 pounds doing this, it should be able to work moving forward. But that's often not the case. It's you get to a point where your body's just like, all right, well, enough is enough. Like I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna lose any more weight. I'm not gonna build any more muscle. Things need to change. So this is where it's tough because I'm not a fan of like always changing things, like every week just making adjustments for the sake of it. But at the same time, at a certain point, you have to make that adjustment. And like that's one thing to consider. The other thing to consider is that you may just need to keep pushing forward, right? Keep being patient. And for these types of transformations, and once again, it depends on the person, depends on the plateau, depends on how long your plateau's been. When you keep going with what has been working, sometimes it will work. And this is very situational. There's some people who need to make adjustments. We need to reverse diet you. We need to increase your calories. We need to reset your hormones and your metabolism, all those fancy buzzwords. And there's some people who are just like, you know what? If you give it another 1 to 2 months, it will still continuously push. It'll help you push forward. And I think like some people struggle with this because they've seen fast results, right? Let's say if you lost 40 pounds, you just start eating better, start sleeping better, drinking more water, moving more, you might see things pretty quickly. Like we've seen people lose 10 plus pounds a month, but then when it comes down to that last 10%, it may just be you needing to be a little bit more patient, you staying the course. And that's something to consider as well. So it's more of a question of how long have you been in this plateau? What exactly do you want to accomplish next? But the last thing I'll say on this is we do have a lot of people who are in this situation when they come to us. It's very hard to help them push forward with like a bigger deficit and more cardio and more training. So what we often have to do is we have to hit the reset button. We bring their calories up, we change their cardio protocols, we give them a bunch of different parameters. And although let's say they happen to gain 2 to 3 pounds, but their calories in which they consume end up going significantly higher. So let's say you end a diet, you are at 1,200 calories, which is pretty low, and you end up getting back up to 1,800 calories and you gain 3 pounds and maybe even a little bit of muscle, you're gonna then be able to enter that next diet phase eating significantly more, feeling more satisfied, not burning yourself out with tons of cardio, and then you'll be able to get those next 10 pounds because there's room for you to bring your calories down. And this is what we call a reverse diet, which we help a lot of people when they're feeling fatigued or they've been dieting for 6 months or 3 months even, or a year. And we actually have a full episode which we talked about, which we'll link down below, on how to reverse diet if you are someone that needs this. So that's my little spiel there. I hope it helps, and I know Josh has a lot of great tips as well.
Yeah, so first and foremost, congratulations on the 40 pounds. I think a big part of this is knowing you can do it, seeing progress. And I think what's hard is almost that expectation, because when you start and you see these massive swings and you're like right there, you're so close, your goal is there, oftentimes that is the hardest. And there's two reasons for this. And the first is the law of diminishing returns. And the second is the exponential nature of elite performance. So I've heard this before and it really stuck with me, and it's a common rule. It's not attributed to any one person, but the concept is it takes the same amount of effort to go from the bottom 100 percentile, so to be the very worst, to get to the top 10, as it does for you to go from the top 10 to the top 1%, and so on with 1% to 0.1%. So essentially what that means is you'd think that going and charting 90% of the progress, if you've done that, it should be really quick just to do that last 9, but that's not so much the case. It actually takes that same amount of effort and intensity to get to that 1%. And then once again, it will take even that much more intensity to go for that last little bit. And you might say, why is this? This is crazy. But like anything else, there's a learning curve. And as you become more elite, you need to be more precise, more creative, and more knowledge-based. And I think a great analogy would be if we took someone who is really, really overweight, and 40 pounds is amazing, but like let's even say someone is 300 pounds overweight. That individual could lose so much weight, not even focusing on nutrition, eating the same, but just adding like 1,000 to 2,000 steps a day, because that would be such a radical shift for that individual. Then from there you could say, okay, let's cut out sugary drinks. You'd see more change. You'd be like, okay, let's start to eat one healthy meal a day. And that naturally would see so much progress. If I made any of those pivots in my day, it would be like a marginal error, it'd be a rounding error. You wouldn't really see too much progress. That's because I'm at that higher standard. So just the same as you scale forward in your results, you need to scale the intensity and you need to scale the quality of your actions. And that's why we do get a lot of these good to great transformations, as Kyle had said, that come in the program. These are people that are doing everything right. They're in the gym, training hard. And like Kyle said, it really depends case by the individual what you need to do. But oftentimes in this situation in particular, you'll be really set in your ways and you've seen this progress and it's hard to pivot out of that. But I find a big thing if you want to be elite is you need to see yourself as someone who is elite, and you need to have elite action. So in those moments you want to be weak, you need to be strong. In those moments where you want to deviate from the plan, you know you can't, because you really need to lock in to see that last little bit of progress, and you lose a lot of that slack, and you lose more of it even the more elite you get. There's a reason why like Olympian athletes don't have off days, and that's because they really can't afford to, because someone else will just not have an off day and be that much more further ahead. Now we're not Olympians, so thank goodness we can have a little bit more grace, but when you have these considerations and you understand it takes more creativity, more precision, it's something you can build into, and it won't happen overnight, but if you accept that identity and understand it takes some more work, you have a lot more opportunity to improve. And if you ask yourself, like, where can I be more precise in my journey? It's easier to find a solution. We'll actually get into that in the next question, but it's like, am I really inconsistent with nutrition, or am I really lacking my protein, or am I overeating every weekend? Or maybe you're like, I'm cutting myself short in my training. I know I'm leaving 4, 5, 6 reps on the table. Or perhaps you're not consistent with your recovery and your sleep, or you're not taking care of your body. So whatever it is, you need to identify these things and further optimize them. Obviously, we look to do that with our coaching. When someone comes in, I'll analyze what they need. And oftentimes it's not people needing to do more. Sometimes it's them needing to do less and do things with more intelligent action. I was actually talking to one of my clients. We ran into him at the gym yesterday, and I was saying how like I don't do any crazy amounts of action. Like he's going to do a run and he's done sporting events, and sometimes he wants to try other things. And people naturally say like, I feel like I need to do more, but sometimes it's doing less better. So it's like going deeper instead of going wider. Because if you lift for like 3 hours and you're not actually getting your failure, and then you're doing classes at night, like there isn't as much intention. And then you can also fatigue yourself and lose that ability to have that adherence and really push forward like you know you're capable of. So these are all considerations you need to think of. And like, this is truly an amazing question, but it will take some new improved effort, more strategy, and definitely better systems to make that happen.
Yeah, I always say, especially for people like this, like you often have the right mindset and you have the right work ethic, especially to get to where you're at. You absolutely do have both of those. But where a lot of people struggle is they often don't have the right game plan and they don't have the right accountability. And especially for our good to great transformations, that's typically the case. You know, they work hard, they spend sometimes hours in the gym and they've been super consistent. It's just that they don't have someone checking in on them, but they also don't have the right strategy in front of them, right? It's not the right program, it's not the right nutrition protocols. They're doing too much cardio, maybe too little, depending on the situation. But a lot of what we need to do here is just pull maybe one string, max two, and see how that works, right? A lot of times people try to pull every little string and everything breaks, and then it's like you don't even know what's actually going to work. If you go into this and you're like, I'm going to change cardio, I'm going to increase my strength training, and then start to do classes, and then I'm going to bump my calories up, and then I'm going to sleep more and whatever, and you start to do a million different things, it's hard to know what's actually going to work. And that's why when we come into the coaching program and once we have someone like this, we're going to take one thing, we're going to make a change, and we're going to see how that goes. But oftentimes when you're emotionally attached, you'll struggle. Like you'll go one day and you'll be like, the scale is not budging, I need to change this. So one thing is, if I were to give a recommendation for someone like this who's lost weight, is get some support, get some accountability. You've done the hard work. I don't know if you've done this with or without a coach, but having someone take an outside look will make such a big difference. And obviously we're here to help you. Summer special will be great, but that's my last little point on this amazing question.
Yeah, one more bonus I tell my clients is to get somewhere you've never been, you got to do something you've never done. So a lot of the time they just think, oh, if I do the same things miraculously, it's going to fix everything. But oftentimes, like, it is you finding that position of sacrifice where you win out those moments that you wouldn't typically. Like I said, most often I think it's winning the weekends for people. It's pushing that little bit more in the gym. It's having that accountability, being honest with yourself. Like, any of those things, and like understanding, okay, like I want to scale my progress, you need to have that buy-in and you actually need to do that work. So hopefully that was very helpful. And once again, it can be very complex, like as you scale into these things. But once again, it's just doing the same things you've done, but doing them better and continually aiming to do that. And it doesn't need to be massive steps forward, but as long as you're moving in the right direction, you're taking little baby steps, you're going to end up where you need to go, which is fantastic. But now we're going to jump into our quotes of the week. We like sharing quotes because we find they inspire us, they get us thinking, they get us motivated, and we hope they do for you as well. So what's your quote, Kyle?
My quote for this week is, if you're going to do it, do it. Say what you can and do what you say. If you can't do it, don't say you can do it. Matthew McConaughey. And I think this was from maybe a motivational video or something. I had it written down in my notes from a while ago, and I've been meaning to share this one, but I just really like it. Just the concept of, hey, if you're gonna do something, just do it, right? Like, too many people, I think, spend time talking about what they're gonna do, and then they'll also overpromise, right? It's so easy to just be like, hey, I'm gonna set these big goals and then just never follow through with it. Or like, I'm sure every one of you here can think of those people who say they're gonna do all these different things, and it's just like you hear them talk about it consistently. So I think, not that it's a pet peeve, I guess it kind of is. It's just like talkers, right? It's like people who just have these bold claims, who say they're gonna start this business and join the gym next week, and it's just like all talk. So the main point here is just like, if you say you're gonna do something, do it. And I really like the quote, even like Josh's before, it's kind of like the success is built in silence, or even the other quote, like work hard in silence, let your success make the noise. Because I think it's so common just to promise all these things, talk about it, post on media how you're gonna do 75 hard, and just like, just talk, but never actually properly do it. So that's just one of my quotes, something I firmly believe in, and just don't be that person. And that's my quote for today.
Yeah, one thing I've been challenging myself with is just doing the hard thing. So instead of looking to do the easy thing, just say, okay, what's the hard thing I can do in this situation? And even as you do that, like to Kyle's quote, if you just, instead of putting things off, you just start doing them, like no flinch, it makes it easier to always do that. Whereas if you're always putting stuff off and you're not committing, you start to see that as normal. And just the same, if you're looking for the easy way out, instead of you say, okay, I'm gonna do the hardest version of this, I'm just gonna get this done. It's always a good extra reminder and a good feeling. So just like doing things with excellence, how you do anything is how you do everything. Obviously always ties back to that, because I think that's my favorite quote ever, as I always like to share. But my quote for this week is from Marcus Aurelius, the man himself. And that is, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And I think this is always a great reminder that you really can't control what happens, what pops up, what goes for you, what doesn't go for you, but you can definitely control how you perceive things, how you react to things, how you compartmentalize, how you respond to like failures you've had. So I think it's a great reminder to really just be in tune with that. And I've even been trying to be extra diligent with just being present, being grateful, and being on top of my meditation, because I do find doing that and taking some time really allows you to have some clarity, and it can help you have a more rational and balanced mind. So I really love this quote, and that is my quote for this week.
Yeah, so well said. It's something I always have to remind myself about, is just being more present. We'll actually talk about this later in question number 3, I think, but it's just something that really makes such a big difference. Even last week when we were talking about what makes us happy, like we went back to just the concept of being present. So yeah, fantastic quote. And I guess what we'll do is we'll jump into what has us excited or intrigued. And one thing that is on the top of my mind right now is just that this is actually our 3rd time recording this. Basically, we started in my garage, and there's construction like next door, so it was kind of loud, and then there's like a heater in there. So it was just so hot, and my car is very, very hot. So it was basically like being in a sauna. So we're rushing through a few points, messed up a few times, came back into my house here, and then didn't have the audio sync properly. And we're just like, you know what, let's make this the best we possibly can be, because you guys are spending time here. You're investing, like you're already 15 minutes in, I believe, just like spending time with us. We want to give you the best quality. And that's something that when we started this entire business, when we started everything, whether it was filming YouTube videos, writing programs for our clients, coming out with these podcasts, yeah, there's been some mistakes here and there. There will be a time where we record it, 50 minutes goes by, and I'm like, oh, I didn't have my audio synced. Like maybe 1 out of every 100 or 200 or something like that. But our goal is just to be the best, right? If it's going to the gym, if we're gonna do something, let's do it right. And that's kind of the concept of like that you're already putting in work, like that quote that Josh was saying about the 100%, right? To get to the top, you're going to be putting in the same amount of work. Obviously a little bit of change here and there, but I just think it's something that holds so many people back, is they're just like, who cares? And that's why it's like they don't get killer results, because they're willing to just put in a little bit of work, and if they mess up, who cares? And if it's bad audio or if like the lighting's bad, it's like we try to be our absolute best. So that's obviously on my mind, as we have tried to film this a few times, but we've got killer audio, killer visuals, as you can see here. If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, you can see the video, and just wanted to mention that today.
Yeah, I answered that first question, I think 3 different times, which is pretty wild. But like we said, we really learned too. And I think you start cutting corners, like people recognize it. And we listen to podcasts as well. And like the second audio is just horrible. It's just really turns you off of it, right? So we could have just said, it's good enough. We'll sync it. It'll be fine. But like, it's definitely not the standard to have. And we really want this podcast to be the best it can be. And obviously, hopefully you appreciate that, as I assume, but it is definitely a good reminder. And I think that did tie in quite nicely to what we have. And even with the segment of like what makes us happy, it definitely just reminds me too, like to be thankful that for like AC. And even it got me thinking, usually when I can't sleep, I remember I heard it from like a Navy SEAL or something. They said like when they couldn't sleep, they would just say that they're dry, they're warm, and they're secure, and they're safe, and it would help them sleep. And I always think of that whenever I can't sleep, because I'm like, okay, I'm pretty blessed to be those things, because when you're not dry, you just want to get dry. It's like the worst feeling ever. Like I remember when I used to ride a motorcycle, I would say it's sunny, and it would just start like be crazy downfalls of rain. I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I would give anything just to be somewhere warm and just like be safe. Same with safety, same with any of those things. So I think it's a good reminder just to appreciate the little things. And we've used the example before too, when you're sick, you just want to not be sick. So I think right now, if you have things to be thankful for, and even as we move to gratitude, I think it is good to acknowledge just those basic wins you have, even though sometimes we want more grand scale, materialistic type wins. I think appreciating things at a very basic level is actually very like heartening. It feels good. It definitely feels warm. And that's something that kind of got me thinking too, because it was tough. And even in that garage, we could have battled through it. It was toasty. It was funny. I was joking because Kyle's video, you could see how much sweat was on his face. But it just wouldn't have been as good quality. It wouldn't have been relaxed. So we're always trying to just make this the best it can be. And like we said, we've seen some good growth. We're excited to see more growth for this podcast. And we just want to say thanks for supporting. So that's what made me happy, I guess, this week, is now that nice and comfy and warm. What about you?
Yeah, and even, sorry, on that topic, just being grateful and just even like trying to be the best you can be, it really inspired me. Like we've seen a few different examples, but even I was watching YouTube the other day, Josh recommended a video, is Whistling Diesel. He's got like 10 million subs on YouTube, and seeing like how he does things, not perfection, but he aims for it. And even there was one clip where he was just talking about how, I guess, neurotic he is with syncing his audio, and he's like, it needs to be the best it can be. Like I have so many different audio guys, and like just seeing all the effort being put in, you always think you're like, this is why he's at the top. Like the amount of effort that gets put in. We were even at a conference a couple weeks ago, and one guy was showing me a guy who's doing really well on YouTube, like the script of like from thumbnails, from testing, from everything like that. And it's just like, when I think of these people, I'm like, man, you can't cut corners. Like these are the people you're competing with. You have to try to be the best you can be. Like never aim for perfection, of course, but still progression, right? And that's something I'm firmly a fan of, especially on your fitness journey too, right? But one thing that has been really on my mind, every Tuesday we go and play volleyball, and I just look forward to it so much. Like when I check the weather and I see it's gonna be a nice day, like the first few weeks, and this is similar to gratitude, like yesterday was just sunny, it was amazing. The first few weeks were windy, it was cold, but it was still fun. But either way, I've just been really looking forward to it. I was saying to Josh today, I'm like, I can't wait to get out for another day. Like we usually play Fridays, but it's just exciting. Like we're actually, and I love to win, for those of you who don't know, but we are at the top right now by pretty much by far. Like there's 37 teams, we're crushing it. Josh yesterday had a game-winning spike that was just so incredible. It's so much fun, like beach volleyball, and obviously being at the top is fun. I don't like losing, but at the same time, just being out there, being on the sand, sun hitting you, just getting some good teamwork going. It's just so much fun and so much enjoyment. So that's one thing that's really been making me happy. And even when I think about it, it's just such a good time. So if you don't play sports, I think it really can help you in so many different ways. Maybe not on your journey, like fat loss wise, but if you look forward to it, hey, that's exciting, right? It's fun to have things to look forward to on your fitness journey.
Yeah, even just summer and the good weather. It's funny because we're from Toronto. The second there's like decently nice weather, everyone like comes out of their holes in the ground, and like it's just ridiculous. Like it was funny when we went downtown to get a taco after, and it was just like so many people, like, and it was a Tuesday night. You'd think is like a special Friday night on a long weekend or something. So it's definitely good to appreciate that, even as we go into summer. Like if you're feeling able-bodied, your fitness is on point, that's always a nice feeling too, to be really confident on a beach when you're walking around too. And we want that for you. And if you're not where you want to be, we'd love to get you there and take all the guesswork out and the difficulty out of your journey. All you got to do is message us Summer Special on Instagram to make that happen, at Colossus Fit, COLOSSUSFIT. But now we're going to jump into a client shout out. Who do we have this week?
So this week we wanted to shout out all of our amazing Summer Challenge winners, and also the participants, everyone that just gave it their all. Yesterday I went live in our Facebook community, just shouting everyone out, saying how proud I am. And honestly, I am. Like the other day, we actually sat on our coaching call with our coaches, with all our submissions, with all like, every coach was just praising each person. Like this person deserves to win. Like this person changed and transformed and cut out this habit and started to do like this. And it's just so incredible to see. So we had a bunch of different prizes. We had different categories. We had best adherence. We had the best transformation. We just had like so many different things. Instead of just saying, hey, who's the best transformation, we had the most amount of weight loss as well. So we had a bunch of different categories, gift cards for each person who won. But at the same time, it was so incredible to see. Like for the last 4 weeks, our clients have been working amazing behind the scenes, showing up, checking off their check boxes. Like a lot of people don't see it, but even we know how hard some of these habits can be. Like for someone who used to walk 6,000 steps, like some clients started to do 10,000, which is incredible. Some people used to struggle with alcohol, and then they entered the beast mode part and they cut out alcohol, and now they're a new and changed person. Some people lost 11 to 12 pounds in the last 4 weeks. So they all deserve some credit. And if you didn't win, totally cool. You win because you transformed, you built new habits. And I even said to all of our clients who participated and crushed it, it's about what happens moving forward. It's about sticking to these principles, taking what you've learned over the last 4 weeks and progressing and continuously pushing for that. It doesn't mean that you have to hit 10K steps every day for the rest of your life or cut out alcohol, but like take some of these principles, apply it. Obviously, once again, amazing transformations. You'll see that post as well. And we just want to say we're so proud of each and every one of you.
Yeah, I think challenging that mindset of I can't and reframe it to I can and I will. And challenges are nice because like a bite size of that. And I know for some people it seems like absolutely impossible not drinking for a month because maybe it's like a big part of your social group, but to just get into it and say, wow, I can do this, analyze how you feel about it, and then decide how you want to reframe that in your life is such a good feeling. Same with the steps. You might say it's impossible to do, and then you start to find solutions, and you wake up early, you go on a walk, you build a habit of that. And it's absolutely amazing because those things will stack up, right? If you are doing an extra 3,000 steps every day because you love a morning walk and you're listening to an audiobook in that time that inspires you, like, the ripple effect of that, the butterfly effect, if you will, in your life could be absolutely massive, right? Like one great new thought in the morning, more exercise, more activity, better health, better hormones. Like it really does go a long way. And we really designed the challenge around that just to help our clients see what they were capable of. And it's been absolutely phenomenal, even for my clients and the winners and everyone, seeing no matter where someone was and how far they progressed, just seeing them continue to scale on that outside of the challenge. Could, like, even in reference to the first question we have, and just continue to build forward and doing so intelligently, doing so in a really balanced and healthy way, and also realizing like, wow, I am capable more than I thought I was. And once you start doing it enough and you build a habit, and once you see results, you become addicted. And even my client Emily shared a great message with me. It really just got me inspired. So big shout out to you, Emily. And she had said, since joining the program, she's like built this into her schedule, into her life. She's going to all these crazy fundraising events. I think she's been on like 2 vacations, 2 cottages, and like a lot of people would say, this is impossible. I can't be coached at this time, or I can't be fit. Like I need to do these things. A lot of different like house parties she'd throw, but instead she's found ways to balance it. And like she said, she feels like this new healthy person where it's unlocked. She's able to go to all these things, still progress, still have an absolutely phenomenal time, and has just built this new level of fitness into her life, which is absolutely amazing. So I wanted to shout that out as a little bonus because that's what this is all about. And this is really what me and Kyle try to push home is you don't need to, yes, you need to sacrifice in some regard, but not much. And ultimately it'll feel like less sacrifice because even for me, people say, oh, I don't understand how you can eat so much and look that way or do whatnot. And well, then you try to explain there's the 80-20 rule. I've built up this muscle. I've done all these different things. But when you put in that work, it actually makes your life easier. Whereas when you kind of fight it, you just do the things you want to do and then you end up feeling miserable for it. And then you try to crash correct it. And then that makes you just feel worse. And it just becomes this vicious cycle where you're not seeing progress. So once again, you deserve progress. You deserve to feel healthy and fit. And we'd love to do that. Summer Special will be ending soon. So if you're inspired, now's your chance. Don't miss out on it. And now we're going to jump into our second question. That is, hey, I'm 25 and definitely a hard gainer. And if you don't know what hard gainer is, that's someone who has trouble putting on weight. A lot of people hate these people. They're like, I don't understand it. But if you're someone who just cannot put on weight, this is what a hard gainer is. So, hey, I'm 25 and I'm definitely a hard gainer. I've struggled to keep on mass and put new mass on. I've been consistent with my gym routine and pretty consistent with calories and protein. I'm always working to be more consistent, but I'm having a hard time here. Any tips to add mass when nothing else works? So I love this question, and generally we don't talk about bulking nearly enough on this podcast, I think, because I find a lot of people want to remove fat and they struggle with that more often than not. But there definitely is a good portion of you that need to put on mass, that need to bulk, that want to put on muscle and are not quite sure. And I actually had a lot of experience for this. I used to be really, really into skateboarding. I would skateboard like 5+ hours every single day, all the time. So I was just doing so much activity. I played sports, hockey, motocross. I did all these different things. And I just really was skinny for like a period of time. I remember I was like 160 pounds, which still might not be light for some people, but it was like ridiculously skinny for me. Like there's a photo, I'm like, oh man, it's crazy. Because I've always tall, like above 6 feet, 160 pounds is very, very skinny. And then I started getting into lifting and I'm like, I want to put on muscle. And I started to eat more and I wanted to bulk. And then I got a little bit stuck there. And that caused me to need to get a little bit creative. And I was able to bulk all the way to 240, which is pretty crazy with good intention, while putting on good muscle and really doing it in a balanced and healthy way. So I definitely have some really good tips here. Kyle was in an identical situation. He was really skinny as well and a runner, and he was able to bulk up. So we're excited to give some tips. But more often than not, bulking is quite easy in the sense that you just need to eat more calories and you need to consistently eat more calories. And even in this question, you'll notice the individual said, I'm pretty consistent with my calories and protein. I'm always working to be more consistent, but I'm having a hard time here. So even in this question, consistency is an issue. And I find with bulking, a lot of people say, oh, I'm bulking, and they'll eat like 1 or 2 big meals a week and they'll feel like they're gonna puke and they've eaten so much. And then the rest of the week, they'll kind of go back to their default behaviors, moving a lot, maybe you have an active job, and then you won't end up putting anything on. Like if you're bulking, you need to be very calculated. It needs to be just like a diet. I can't just be in a deficit 2 days and then be overeating the other 5. It's not gonna work, it's counterintuitive. So instead you need to find a level of calories that you can bulk at. So if I'm normally maintaining at like 3,400, maybe I'd start my bulk at 3,800 or 4K. And then at that time, I'd weigh in every day. And by the end of the week, I'd analyze, did I gain any weight? If I gain a pound, then I'm on the right track, right? Just the same though, if I do it only Monday through Friday, weekend I'm busy and I don't end up eating anything and I undo all that gain for the week, I'm just gonna swim in circles. So consistency is the most important. It's the same with dieting. We talk all the time. You can't just diet through the week and then eat anything you want on the weekend because you're going to be in circles just the same. So the more you can be consistent, just hit that number. And if that 4K is getting you a pound a week, right? You could say, okay, that's 10 pounds in 10 weeks. Of course, even to our first question, you're going to have to change that over time, but you need to be calculated. You need to be consistent. And then if all else fails, you do need to drive up the amount of calories. And some people might say 4,000 calories is absolutely insane. I could never eat that. You might have to, especially if you're a bigger person. I was bulking pretty close to 5,000 myself. It's hard, like I said, when you're 240 pounds, you're lifting heavy, you're playing sports, like you have a lot going against you. So there are some ways to be creative to actually be able to eat more food. So it's funny because me and a lot of our friends, we eat kind of freakishly fast, and it's a bad habit I'm trying to undo actually. But it's because we all did these big bulks and we really need to put down a lot of food, feel good, not feel sick, and really challenge yourself with that. So one of the best ways you can eat more is obviously by chewing less and kind of pushing the food in. I don't necessarily think this is the healthiest way to start, but it's something to identify. A lot of the time, people that have a hard time eating more calories eat very slowly, put the fork down between every bite. If I just eat slowly over an hour, I'd probably eat half the food I normally would, where if you kind of eat a lot before you get full, maybe you've gone to a buffet and you tried to maximize that in the past and you put everything you can, you know that time frame will come where you're just too full to eat, or you've done a food challenge like us or something crazy like that. So obviously speed is a big thing, like that will drastically help. Another healthier, more easy solution, if you will, is adding more liquid calories into your diet. It's easier to put a lot into a blender, and you can get really exotic here as well. Like I actually used to utilize olive oil as long as you're hitting your protein. Yes, you're getting a lot of fat, but you can get a lot of calories in like not a lot of density. And just the same if you're cutting, I would say to eat more vegetables, eat more whole foods, because they'll fill you up even though it's the same amount of calories. But here we have the opposite, where we really want to optimize for that. And I think that's where a lot of people make the mistake of like bulking and just wanting to go out and buy a mass gainer and just have that, but those get pretty disgusting. And I actually distinctly remember like throwing up one when I was on the bus. I had to get off the bus and it was just gross, and I never had them since. But smoothies became a great tool for that, because I would just put a lot of peanut butter, a lot of protein, a lot of milk, a lot of banana, a lot of different fruits for a lot of carbs, and like I was able to just get crazy shakes, and it would really not take a ton of space in my stomach. But more than anything else, if you just consistently eat at these levels, it just becomes normal to you and you'll become quite hungry with even less food. So if you're doing those tips and you're being consistent, like that's all it really needs to be. And where it is a little bit more difficult is you still do want to make sure you're consuming adequate protein. But some people go too over the deep end. They'll be like, I'm bulking, so I'm gonna have 2 grams per body weight. Like it's not necessary, and carbs are quite anabolic when you're in surplus as well. So you can lean into your carbs, which are quite easy to digest, and there's a lot of different alternatives you can try there. So other thing you can do is really dense caloric snacks. I used to do like a ton of almonds. Like there are a million different things you can do, and you can still do it eating pretty clean. And we have the 80-20 rule. You might even move to 70% whole hearty foods, maybe 30% a little bit more fun. If you find you're like too bloated out through fiber and food density, there isn't necessarily anything wrong with utilizing something that will help you drive those calories up, because this is a period of your time. You're gonna bulk up. From there, you're gonna do a little bit cut, you're gonna have a new, better, healthier set weight, and you'll be able to achieve more balance. But you need to be strategic and you need to be consistent. So that's my long-winded answer. I'm curious what else Kyle will have to add.
Yeah, I know a lot of people struggle with this. We've seen so many different hard gainers, even kind of skinny fat people who are looking to start with more of like the building phase, because they're not like, their belly's not too big, but they just want to fill out a bit. But these people, like your metabolism's like crazy fast. Some of you may be runners, like you just burn so many calories. And I'd say like the first thing, these types of people often forget to eat. Like I've had conversations with people who are trying to gain more weight, more muscle, and just like get more jacked, and they just like forget. Like they just don't have proper eating schedules, like an eating routine. Like, you might have to do more meals, right? Like if you're typically used to the two to three meals per day, you might have to go 4 to 5 and just like set a timer, set a reminder. Like it sometimes can feel like a bit of a job if you are constantly eating, but sometimes that's what it takes. If you are a hard gainer and you have to get those extra calories in to hit your goals, it's very common for that to need to take place. You can't just do what you've always done, which is just kind of the basics and your regular meals. You have to sit there and be like, okay, I got to get an extra meal in, and that will make a big difference. But I'd say my last and like bit of a untraditional tip, and something I see a lot of people struggle with, is like you just really have to keep track. So I would say a lot of hard gainers think they're always eating more than they are. I've had conversations with people, and I'll never forget one of them that just really blew me away, because I was talking to a guy and he said he struggled with this. He's a skinny dude. You could tell he's maybe 120 pounds, like 5'10". He's like, I can't eat. Like I'm eating so much. I'm eating all day. So I remember he listed everything out. Breakfast, he had some cereal. I'm like, okay, 250 calories with the milk. Okay, he started listing things out. Yes, I did have a muffin. Okay, there's 400 calories. When we got to the end of the day, like it was around 7 or 8 p.m. when I had seen him, we were at like 2,000 calories, but he just felt like he was eating all day. But because you don't have the stats in front of you and you're not using a tracking app, like you may feel like you're eating all day, but you're just not actually hitting the numbers you need to. So this alone will fix so much. And once again, it will feel like a lot, especially if you are actually eating quite a bit, to put it into MyFitnessPal, to track everything, to weigh everything, but it gives you so much more accountability and awareness. And when you can see that you're eating 2,000, 2,500, whatever the number is, it's easier to make those changes to bump it up 500 calories or so, because you see the data in front of you. So very simple tip, but something I see a lot of people struggling with. But everything else Josh said is so true. Like I've gone through many phases. I've had many clients who want to bulk up and gain more muscle, and this phase can be fun because you can stack on some crazy muscle that when you shred afterwards, you're just a whole different person. You could gain 15 to 20 pounds of muscle depending on who you are, depending on how untrained you are, depending on your time frame. Like I've done it before, clients have done it before. So it is a fun phase, but you have to do it right. You can't just eat anything and everything.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say is training in a bulk is like one of the best feelings, and just feeling yourself get bigger, putting on more muscle. I remember I'd hit door frames when I'd walk through them because I was getting wider, which is amazing. But another big mistake people make is they'll just get super lazy. They'll say, oh, I'm bulking, I'm supposed to be eating 4,000 calories, and they'll just like start eating anything and everything and using it as an opportunity just to eat crap and like just eat excess amounts of sugar and desserts. Because the problem with that is you'll start to feel horrible, and once again you lose that consistency, because some days you'll have like 5,000 calories, and that's where you can actually put on even more fat than you want, like a true dirty bulk. Like I do find there's a big detriment to that as well, and that's where having like some metric of control is absolutely important. And like Kyle said, being consistent to it and not just using it as an excuse to eat anything. Because one big caveat with that, and even I had a phase where I'd get pretty dirty, is like I just felt like crap. Like my skin felt like crap. I would feel bad going up the stairs, and it can be really hard to transition out of that. If you just lose that control or that discipline and it's not calculated, it's very hard to pivot to maintenance or to a deficit, because you've just been eating anything under the veil of, oh, I'm bulking. And I find when people do this, their physiques start to just not look as good as they could. So once again, like 30%, if you want to have like Pop-Tarts for extra carbs, power to you. Like you could do within balance, still aim to have good amount of foods, but you just don't want to be every day just winging it, going crazy, eating anything to eat anything. Your protein sucks, because you're going to be losing out on a lot of progress. So that's a good extra note there too from Kyle, and something I was excited to add on. But last but not least for today, we have, you have to coach your clone. What do you think they'd be worse at?
This is a great question. I had to actually think about this when I saw it written down. And for me, like I'd say, and this is non-coaching related, I just want to mention, like before I was talking about presence. So this is like once again, fitness related, but it's like that's the one thing that I'm the absolute worst at, so I'm trying to get better at. But when it comes down to the overall fitness journey, I was thinking like I've done a bunch of different phases, like training wise, nutrition wise. I'm pretty bad when I don't have a very deep goal with a competition in mind. So I would say like one of the worst things that I guess you could say I just struggle with, like if I were to be coaching my clone, I'd be like, you have to have a competition scheduled. You have to have some sort of meet scheduled. Like today we went to the gym with our buddy who I've always been stronger than, and he's getting stronger than me. And I've taken my foot off the gas. Like I've started to slack a bit. I'm not hitting barbell squats as much. Like I still work out, don't get me wrong. I push myself, but I find that when I don't have that, like 12 weeks from now, we're testing numbers. 12 weeks from now, we're doing a DEXA scan. Whatever time frame, like we're hitting this, if you don't hit this body fat, you pay whatever amount of money. Like I would say you need to have something to work towards, and that alone makes such a big difference. And especially because like for me personally, I once again will kind of go through the motions. I'll still show up, still push myself, still give 9 out of 10 intensity, have some good workouts and whatnot. But I think that would be the one thing that I would like just be really bad at, is not consistently like pushing really to that next level unless there's something like immediate in front of me. And this is something I'm trying to change because I know myself well, right? So it's kind of important to keep that in mind. I'm like, hey, I just can't do like as well as I should unless I have that thing in front of me. So that's the main thing, because I find that's what also holds me back from succeeding. If I start a cut, if it's kind of just like, I want to do it, I'll do well, I'll lose a bit of weight and, you know, kind of get a little bit of results and whatnot, and they'll just be like, it's all good, like I'm happy with where I'm at, instead of like pushing to that next level, which to me is super important to push to. So that's my main answer for that question.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think mine would be pretty similar, just to have very clearly defined goals that you're excited about, because your level of intention to something, I'll always do everything, I'm always pretty on it, but when you're just like so dialed in, excited to a goal, that's where you see the most progress. So I think it would really be just the importance of establishing that. And I think this is a good exercise that everyone should do, because you can kind of find where the holes in your game are. And lately for me too, I notice also I definitely can improve a lot, I think, by spending more time stretching at night, in particular with my shoulder injury, really just making sure everything's optimized there, preventing any future issues, and just giving myself that extra benefit, doing my abs, doing really set, determined cardios, really balancing that out. I think those are all definitely good opportunities for improvement. And these are like tiny little things on top, but I think it's a great reminder. And I think in general, I've always been pretty coachable, and I've had a good response to that, thankfully. And I understand the value in it, but in general, I do think that is a great point, really understanding what those goals are. And I think even it's a good takeaway for me and Kyle to set more challenges, set more goals, be excited by the journey, maybe not let some of the situations impact us. Like I find I really respond when a gym has good energy and good people around. I can really just buckle in and train insane. And sometimes it's harder when there's more distractions and whatnot. So I think it would just be really filtering those out. And that's definitely something I'll look to improve for myself as I go forward. But this is a great question to ask yourself. So if you had to coach yourself, like what do you think you'd be worst at? What would you tell yourself to improve? Because sometimes it's nice to tell other people what to do. It's hard to tell ourselves. So if you take a second to reflect on that, you might find a hole in your game that you can start to improve, so you can see some amazing new progress. Or you can have me and Kyle hold your hand, give you the instructions you need, and actually get you the results you deserve, fully guaranteed. Like we said, summer special, it's ending, so we don't want you to miss out on it. Make sure to take advantage, but we sure do hope you enjoyed chilling with us today and that you valued this episode and the information in it. If you have any follow-up questions or want to chat with me and Kyle, we're always available on Instagram. Hit us up, give us a follow at ColossusFit, shoot us a message. We're in there regularly, which is absolutely amazing. We love connecting with you amazing people. So thanks for tuning in. Peace out.